Oh, hey there. So isn't it funny how life takes us on an amazing journey of unexpected events? Really amazing. We never expect them. So when I was a kid, I was sporty. Actually, I was sporty and naughty. Now that I think about it, I was just naughty. Yeah, I was naughty. So when I was walking and talking when I was 9 months old. You probably don't believe that, but it's true. And I really cashed in on that, right? So when I was 1, I had a pair of white gumboots. Everyone know what gumboots are? You know, the little rain boots, you know. I was 1 and I was walking down a main street in our little town in Australia with Mum and my grandma, and I'm like, these boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. And I would point to people, and some thought it was hilarious, and some didn't. They just didn't. And when I was 1, my mum put me in hospital because I would only eat lamb's brains, and I would throw anything else. So the doctor said, it's you or her. So I went into hospital. I remember the matron saying, you very naughty little girl. So I'm going to write a book about that. And when I was 2, I kidnapped my sister. This is funny, isn't it, right? So I kidnapped her. So we're at a market, Mum and Grandma again, and it was boring, like, let's face it. And my little sister, 6 months old, was in the pusher. I was 2. And I took off. I grabbed her and I ran like the clappers out onto the main street, over a main road, and there was my destination, the pub. It was good. And Mum found me perched up at the bar having raspberry lemonade and chips. You know, it was a great day out for me. Really good. And, I used to steal push bikes and all sorts of things. I was so naughty. And my dad, there's a lot of young people in the audience, but now we've got MP3s, and then before that we had CDs, and before that we had records, and, there was 72s. Now, 72s were pretty special. And my dad had Elvis's first release. He was so proud of it. But no, I wasn't content with that. I spray painted them all gold and hung them all up on my wall. And Mum says, by God, don't you tell your father you did that? And Dad walks in the door and Mum says, guess what Kerryn did? And it was all because ultimately I wanted to be a rock star. So I wanted my own gold records. So I did go down that path. You can see me there, very attractive as a youngster. And I lived the rock star life. And I was living the dream. It was wonderful. I achieved my goal. But I was so selfish and so destructive. It was such a bad life. But I loved it. And I thought that I was pretty awesome. And loved entertaining the crowds. But one day, when at a gig, I got a phone call, and it was the worst phone call of my life, and it was one that I was not expecting. And on the end of the phone, one of my sisters told me that this sister, excuse me, had the C word. Now, the C word we all know is cancer. But to me, all I saw was the D word, in a capital D. She was going to die. It meant death. So I went on this little bit of a bender for 5 years to, save her at any cost. What am I going to do? How can I save her? Ultimately, she lost a battle. I lost my Vaughan. She left behind 3 tiny little kids. And, I couldn't save her. I failed. Now, how do you deal with failure? Because that hits you really hard in the heart, and you think you're a hero, you think you're pretty tough, you think you can do anything, but then you can't save the life of somebody that you really care about. So I decided to go into hiding, and like this little fella here. And I thought that if I hid, nobody would know my pain, I wouldn't have to talk about it. I don't know, I just thought it would go away. Pretty stupid, really. So I decided to get a job in a nursery because I could hide, behind the plants like this little chap. But turns out, locking your boss in the shed's not a good job move. It doesn't lead to job longevity. So keep in mind there's a naughty theme going on, all right? So then I thought, well, all right, I'm going to go and get a job in a cheese factory. So I can hide in the cellars amongst the cheese. And on my very first day, the boss says, you've got 8 earrings. You need to take them out because it's a, food safety issue. And I said, no way. No way. You can stick your job. I don't want it because I'm not taking my earrings out. And after a little bit of arguing and argy-bargy, I got to keep my earrings in. Again, very, very proud of myself. So on my first day, here I am, over a vat of cheese. You can imagine it, can't you? Really proud of myself that I've got my earrings in. And I get back to the change room. I look in the mirror and, oh, shit. And one of them was gone. Now, I've just got to tell you that doesn't impress bosses either. You probably imagine that. So it turns out that hiding and trying to do all these, hidey-hole jobs doesn't work. I then decided a year later, I was invited to join the Relay for Life team committee, which is to raise funds for cancer. And so I joined that team as the events coordinator, one of the coordinators. And that was really profound for me because it gave me the opportunity to, start to live a life of, leave a legacy, to start to really contribute to society, to start to serve others, and to do things that were exactly what we're talking about here today, to be more than a bystander, to really, really contribute and to really feel the joy of getting involved and making life better for me and for other people. So in part of this, and this was over 11 years, since she died until I, really, really stepped up. But one of the jobs that I had was teaching people in the disability field to be disability workers. And I was a behaviour specialist, an autism specialist. So I would do a lot of work with kids, and the teachers would say to me, fix these kids. And it would really upset me because I thought these kids aren't broken. You're focusing on the wrong thing. The system's broken. You're focusing on their weaknesses. We should be focusing on their strengths. So by now it's my turn to really, really, really step up. So I wrote the book Magnificent Kids. And it's not about autism or behaviour or anything like that. But it's about kids, 23 kids around the world, that are doing amazing things. And I'm so proud to say that 2 of them are here today and they're going to talk to you. So that makes my heart sing. But the book was an opportunity for teachers and parents to start looking at kids, looking at their strengths and not looking at their weaknesses. It was also an opportunity for kids to be inspired by other kids and realise that they too could make a difference. In an uncanny set of events, Magnificent Kids led me to founding the not-for-profit One Planet Classrooms, which I started off as a Skype project. And I wanted kids in Africa to Skype with kids in Australia. And I jumped in and, as I do, you probably got that by now, yep. And it was a massive failure, because the kids in Africa were in bed when the kids in Australia were in school and vice versa. So it was really, really, really good. But worse than that, I sent laptops to a country where 95% of them don't even have power. So I rocked it. Anyway, what I learned in that time is that because I was working with all these schools in Africa, and what I learned is that all these kids were dying from drinking dirty water. And girls were the ones fetching the water, and they were being sexually assaulted and raped as they were getting water. Now, we're talking right down to little girls. And, I had 2 choices. I could say, well, hang on, I set up a Skype project here, or I could step up and change it. So I stepped up and changed it. And now, to date, we've put in probably 40 major projects. Now we're talking water wells, water tanks, solar systems, mattresses, blankets, tons of food, clothes, mosquito nets, we've set up women's empowerment projects, we've pioneered adult learning in Uganda, we've kept more than 2,000 girls in school with sanitary items, and we have 180 kids in our sponsorship program. Now that was all because I made a decision. I can either fail or I can turn it around and make something of it. So I'm really glad I made something of it, because that's thousands of lives. And then last year, I was at an International Women's Day event, and I got up on stage in front of 300 people, and I did it again, jumped in again, and I held up a sign that said, "I will launch a purposeful female-focused initiative." I got down off the stage, and guess what I said? Oh, shit, again. Anyway, that's where Girls with Hammers was born, and Girls with Hammers does women's empowerment conferences and workshops. And when you hear stories like an 82-year-old woman says to you, "This is the best day of my life," after a conference, and a woman who was having a breakdown and could barely come inside came in and then told us that had changed her life, turned it around. A 13-year-old girl who had recently come out of school was being bullied. She got in the car and said to her mum, "I don't care about those turds anymore." You really know that you're having an impact. So I'm starting to get addicted to projects, as you can probably imagine. I'm really liking this whole thing. And so this year I wrote a book called Get Off the Bench, and it's about kickstarting ideas, because I felt like if I'm doing it, I might as well show other people how to do it, and I believe that every single person can make a difference. So we do workshops, and things that have come out of these workshops is incredible. And one woman is actually even setting up a centre for domestic violence just from coming to a workshop. So when you see this stuff, you really know that you're having an impact. And it's not just about me. This is not about me being great. This is about me opening the door and unlocking it for other people to do their own amazing things, because I believe that everybody can do incredible things. All of those things were done in the last 6 years, and they were all successful, serving others, changing lives, and meaningful. And I really love that I've been able to turn it around and live a meaningful life and really impact people. So I guess when bad shit happens, you can either look in and you can focus on negative, you can focus on the pain, you can focus on hopelessness and helplessness, or you can turn it around and you can start to serve others. And when you serve others, you change lives. And when you change lives, your life changes too. And I can't tell you how happy I am and how different I am, simply because I decided to step up and help other people. So don't wait for bad shit to happen. Just do it. Do it now. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You do not need that. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to have a degree. You don't need anything. You just do it. You just start, put one paver in front of the next and step on it. And off you go, and you'll be off and running in no time. Oh, by the way, I did put this in. I couldn't help it. I'm still very, very, very naughty. It's just like now it's a kind of Robin Hood kind of way, so that's all right. Anyway, if we can make a difference, why wouldn't we? Thank you.